Have you been paying attention? Can you tell which book is gone from my bookshelf that we're going to be reviewing next? I'll give you a minute. Oh, come on, it's really not that hard. Hey guys, welcome back to another book chat. Today we will be reviewing 13 Reasons Why by J. Asher, starting with the non-spoiler section. Now this book brings back so many memories because I was reading it around 7th and 8th grade, I think. It was when I was being confirmed, actually, at my church. And I remember asking my pastor about you know, what happens to people if they commit suicide, and he was really, it was like an interesting answer for a priest because, you know, a lot of churches look down on suicide and everything, but my pastor said that he thought that, you know, if life ever got so bad for somebody that they felt like suicide was their only way out, God would 100% forgive them and he would welcome them with open arms into heaven. And I don't know, it just was a really nice answer, I guess. And so I always associate this book with that pastor. He's no longer at a church, but he was a really great guy. So to give you a basic idea, if you've never read this book about what the book is about, I will read you the inside cover flap. Clay Jensen's first love records her last words. Clay Jensen returns home from school to find a strange package with his name on it lying on his porch. Inside he discovers several cassette tapes recorded by Hannah Baker, his classmate and crush, who committed suicide 2 weeks earlier. Hannah's voice tells him that there are 13 reasons she decided to end her life. Clay is one of them. If he listens, he'll find out why. Clay spends the night crisscrossing his town with Hannah as his guide. He becomes a first-hand witness to Hannah's pain and learns the truth about himself, a truth he never wanted to face. This book is so interesting if you've never read it. It basically follows the story of Clay, and he finds a box of cassette tapes on his porch, and Hannah's listed the 13 reasons why she committed suicide. And so he's like provided a map too, and so he goes around to the different places where Hannah, like where these things happen to Hannah, and she tells a story about what happened in that place, and he slowly learns why she killed herself. And I just think it's such an interesting premise, and you know, there's a really big surprise in it, and if you haven't read it, I think you would definitely love it. I just, in general, I think that the premise is just so unique. I've never really seen anything else like this, and I think it's coming up on like some kind of anniversary, and there's like an anniversary version out of it now where Hannah lives, and so that's a really interesting like twist, and I might buy that version too, and maybe I'll do like a follow-up review on it if I ever get my hands on it, because you know, I'd like to see what that's about. But you know, really this book isn't about her living, it's about understanding why people might commit suicide and what you as a person might be able to do to stop it, and you know, what you as a person might do to just make somebody's life better. It's really good. I can't say that enough. J. Asher just has a really good writing style too, you know. It's nothing complex, it's nothing John Green-esque, but it's just really, when you read it, you're just enthralled in the story. Like, I couldn't put it down when I had it. It literally got passed around my friend group twice because everybody wanted to read it and then they wanted to reread it. So you can't, it's not a mistake if you want to read this book. This is one of the gems of our generation. So with that raving review, I think it's obvious that 9 out of 10 stars is what I'm going to give it. I mean, it's, and I would give it 10 out of 10, but it's just, like I've said before, I'm holding out for that special someone, which I will be reviewing. I found my special someone book, and I will be reviewing it in like 2 months, I think. But this book right here is a very close second place. It has everything that I love in a book, and I'm really a big sci-fi fantasy type of person, so the fact that this book, which is realism, the fact that it caught my attention and held my attention, that means something. It definitely means something. So now we're going to move on to the spoiler section. So if you haven't read this book, you should go and read it and then come back and you can listen to us discuss the book and get involved in the conversation, because I really want everybody talking about this book. This is a book that needs to be talked about, and I know that it's been out for a really long time. That does not mean that we cannot re-spark a conversation about it. So go read it, come back, and we'll talk. Are they gone? Are they gone? Are you sure they're gone? Because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. Are they gone? I think they're gone! Okay, let's spoil the crap out of this book! Woohoo! So, this book, I remember reading it so long ago, and it blew my freaking mind. Just everything from what happens to her. It's so sad, and honestly, there was some things that, like, really were helpful for me, you know, to know, like the fact that if somebody drastically changes their appearance, that might be a sign that something's going on with them. And, you know, later in my life I've learned that that's definitely true, and, you know, you need to be aware of that stuff, and I just think that's really cool in general. Another thing that I really liked was that Clay actually didn't do anything wrong. I don't know, I just thought that was interesting that Hannah decided to add him in, not because he did anything wrong, but because she just wanted him to know her story. And oddly enough, it's one of their most romantic stories. I don't know, like, I guess not romantic in the sense that, you know, you would think of as romantic, but it was romantic in the sense of she cared about him so much that she wanted him to know why she did what she did. And it's sad, but it's also touching in a way. And I really want to read the version where she lives, because I don't know, I just want to see what Clay does, how he reacts. You know, the fact that he was, you know, vomiting and stuff when he was reading, I mean, when he was listening to all these other stories about all these different guys and girls, like, mistreating Hannah and doing these awful things to her, and then he just thinks, what have I done? What have I done? Am I at this level? Am I this awful? Did I do something this bad? What could I have possibly done? And it's so, you wonder that too. You're like, what have you done, Clay? What kind of bad things have you done that led this girl to commit suicide? And it really gets you thinking about what you yourself as the reader, as a person, have done to other people that might have driven them to some end, or what you could have done to keep somebody from getting pushed to that point. And I think that it's just a good kind of, not political message, but like a social message, something that tells you, you know, you've got to be aware of your actions, and you've got to be aware of what you're doing and what you're saying and how you're saying it, because people are affected by you every day, all day, every day. Something that you say is going to affect somebody somehow, and I think that's a really important message to get across, especially to teen readers, since, you know, this is a young adult book. It's an important message to get across to teen readers, and I think it's a really good thing. One scene that made me really uncomfortable was the scene where Hannah and her friend at the time, that like ended up not being a very good friend after all, how they knew that somebody was like being creepy and like taking pictures and stuff like outside of Hannah's window, so they decided to like stage like the sexy time, whatever. And just the whole time I was reading that, I remember feeling so uncomfortable, because I don't know, it was like, it was weird. It felt weird, because it wasn't like the two girls were lesbians or anything, you know, they were purposely doing it to trap this creepy, horny guy who was staring through their window at them. It's just so disgusting to me, and I know it was meant to be disgusting, and that was one of the things that led Hannah to commit suicide, and it just was so gross and uncomfortable. But it was a really interesting scene too. Just it was kind of like, not the start of things going downhill for her, definitely, but it was definitely a turning point, kind of, where she did that and she didn't feel comfortable doing it, but it got rid of a worse situation for her in some ways. I don't know, but it was just really disturbing. The part where Clay finds out that he didn't do anything wrong, too, I just really like that part. I like how she kind of says, you know, it wasn't his fault what happened, and, you know, all that happened between them was that they kissed, and it was like first kisses, and it was so sweet. But then she thought of the guy who did ruin her life, Justin, and then she, like, pushed Clay away, and she kind of, you know, ruined the one good thing that was going for her. Well, she didn't ruin it. This other guy totally ruined it for her, this one good thing that was going on in her life, because, and he wasn't even there. This guy wasn't even there, but he was just ruining everything for her by having existed in the past and been in her life in the past. And I thought that was really interesting, too. I also really liked Hannah's voice. Hannah's storytelling voice and just how she tells the story. It felt very realistic of, you know, a teenage girl. You know, it felt scripted, but obviously she probably did have some kind of script. And all in all, I just think that Jay Asher did an amazing job writing this book. And I'm sure if I read it over again, maybe I'd find some flaws with it. And I probably will read it over again at some point. But just for now, I just really wanted this to be more of a, me reminiscing about this really good book that I read a really long time ago. And I just loved Jay Asher's everything. I loved his plot, I loved his writing style, I loved that he didn't shy away from a tough issue, and that instead he chose to teach people about the tough issue. And he didn't shy away from the gross things, like Hannah being raped, and I don't know, that ending part where Hannah gives up, kind of, and she lets herself be molested in the hot tub, and then, you know, that's like her final straw, but she like let it happen to herself because she almost wanted that final straw. I thought that was really interesting too. I thought it's something that you don't really think of, you know, maybe people are looking for that last thing to push them over the edge because they're just so sick of life, and they're like, okay, fine, if one last thing happens, and then when they find it, they let it happen because they're like, I'm done. And it's sad, but I don't know, this book just makes you think, and I think that's why I really liked it so much, is because it makes you think. And it's sad, and just thinking about it now, it makes me sad. But I think that it's a good thing for somebody to read, whether they're in the position of Hannah or not, you know, because I think that if you're in Hannah's position and you read this book and you're reading it from Clay's point of view, who didn't do anything wrong, whose only fault is that he loved her and that he cared about her, then it makes you think, you know, what am I leaving behind if I were to do something like this? You know, how would this affect people, the people in my life? Hi, Gracie. I have another dog named Snitch, but he just never decides to stick his nose into my videos, so. But yeah, like, how will it affect the people that I love if I do this thing, if I let this bad thing happen to me? And then as a person in possibly Clay's position or any of the other positions, you know, it makes you think about your actions and what you should or shouldn't do. So I think it was a really good book. I think it was a really important book in our, like, lives, in our society, in this point in time, especially when rape culture and like suicide rates are like an all-time high and everything. I just think it's a really good book to get people thinking. So tell me what you thought about the book in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you think it was an important story? Have you been through something similar? And if you have, do you think that it was an accurate representation, or do you think it was, you know, dramatized or under-dramatized for the book? You know, only you would know that. I think, like, you know, I'm blessed enough to have not had to go through that, but I feel for anybody who has, and it's a very tough topic, and it's something that I'm a little hesitant to go into right now because, you know, I don't have that experience and I don't feel like I have the right to say anything or make judgments or make any comments about it at all. But yeah, tell me what you think about it, or if you've known somebody who's gone through something like this, you know, do you think it was realistic or not? Do you think it's as important as I think it is for, you know, in today's society that we have this type of book? Do you think it is important, or do you think, you know, it's a good book but it wasn't really that important? Just let me know what you think, because I love this book and I think I've shared my thoughts, but now I want to hear yours. And I forgot to say this in the last video, but just make sure to mark your spoilers below. I know that most of the comments will be spoilers, but, you know, in case anybody accidentally, you know, scrolls down there for some reason and they haven't read the book, I just want them to be forewarned that, like, the comment section will have spoilers. Beware. And I'm going to try to put it in the description too. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this book chat. I know I did. And I hope that you guys have a very beautiful day, and I will see you next time. Bye!